Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm Tami Stacklehouse, fibromyalgia coach, author, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. The goal of this podcast is to empower you with access to the dream team of experts and coaches I've discovered are key to living the fibro life you love. From the comfort of your own home, and maybe even your pajamas, I'll help you take back control of your life and health. To help out with fibro fog, I always include full show notes and additional resources at fibromyalgiapodcast.com. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stacklehouse, and this is episode 160 and our next Ask the Coach. Every 10 episodes, I have a special Ask the Coach where we answer questions sent in by you, the listener. Today, those questions are about turmeric. And to help with that, I have a special guest joining me, Dr. Shivani Gupta. In a world where pain meds are no longer our first choice, the interest in natural options like turmeric is growing, along with the questions I receive. Turmeric is a natural anti-inflammatory, sort of like a natural Advil. It can be a powerful addition to your fibro toolbox for managing pain and inflammation, but only if you're using the right stuff the right way. Simply sprinkling some on your food or taking a supplement is not enough. Today, Dr. Shivani shares how she became a PhD in turmeric, and she'll dive into how it helps our bodies and why the right formulation and quality in supplements, any supplements, are key to getting results. If you have ever been curious about turmeric, this episode is for you. Now, let me introduce you to our guest. Dr. Shivani Gupta is an Ayurvedic practitioner and expert in fusing Eastern and Western practices that help our bodies achieve equilibrium. She completed her master's in Ayurvedic sciences and her PhD on turmeric. Inflammation is a root cause for many health issues in our lives, and we have the power to overcome it. Her passion is teaching at-home remedies to reduce inflammation naturally and help you enjoy more energy, less brain fog, less pain, and ultimately achieve vibrant health. Dr. Shivani has practiced Ayurvedic medicine for over 20 years, and her approach is to show you the tools in your toolkit so you can reach for them every time you need them. She is the founder of Fusionary Formulas, an Ayurvedic company that helps people with inflammation and pain. Now, before we dive in, of course, I have to give you a quick reminder. The information you hear in this podcast is not meant to be considered medical advice, nor is it intended to replace consulting with a qualified physician or other healthcare provider. Dr. Shivani does give some fantastic information on turmeric today, including how to use it. But always, always talk with your own providers about what is right for you. And be sure to keep listening after our conversation. I have some additional information and resources coming up for you. Since this is Fibromyalgia Awareness Month, we've got some special goodies. Now, here is my conversation with Dr. Shivani. Hi, Dr. Shivani. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's been so fun getting to know a little bit more about you, about your company, about your supplements. And I think this is a perfect topic for us to be talking about, which is, of course, turmeric. And we'll get to that in a minute. But first, I would love to start with a little bit more foundational for your work there. And that is, what is Ayurveda?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Ayurveda is an entire system of health, healing, and medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old. It's really one of the original sciences around medicine. And within the textbooks, I have these textbooks back here from Ayurveda. Within those ancient texts is an explanation of all of the systems of medicine that have now come to be. They talked about surgery, they talked about using plants as medicine, they talked about detoxification. And so within the umbrella of Ayurveda, I love to teach about our individual mind body constitution. I call that our dosha, or our elemental design that's driving us through these elemental forces. I teach a lot about circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm came from Ayurveda, and it's that misalignment to our circadian rhythm that's such a big problem for so many of us. So Ayurveda said, live in rhythm with your circadian rhythm. And then Ayurveda teaches a lot about gut health and said gut health is the center of all health. It is that root cause of disease. If we're inflamed and gut is mismanaged, that is why we have all the imbalances we have. Then Ayurveda taught about the sattvic diet, an anti-inflammatory diet that was really an open diet that taught us how to eat and when to eat, not just what we eat. Then I teach about the super spices because to me, the super spices are superfoods. They are the medicinal solutions we can reach into easily out of Ayurveda to get the quicker solutions that we usually want. And then finally, I teach the Nacharya, the daily self care rituals that help us build that rhythm to gently detox the body and build a healthier, vitality body that we're craving. And so those are key pillars from Ayurveda that I teach. And then if people have really serious diseases, Ayurvedic doctors in India are working alongside the allopathic doctors in the hospitals. You have full Ayurvedic hospitals. So we have bigger tools like Panchakarma and big detox tools that we also use to help people reverse out of the chronic diseases that we sometimes have.
I love that. I love that. And I love how it's based in just like let yourself be as healthy as possible. Because if everything is working, all the individual pieces are working the way that they're supposed to, then a lot of the rest of the stuff resolves, you know?
Absolutely. Our goal is to bring body, mind, and spirit into alignment so the body can always heal itself. The teaching is we have sometimes created different patterns, different habits, had maybe different toxic burdens come along or different stressors to the system. And the job of the Ayurvedic practitioners to really help us unwind that and come back into our alignment with our elemental forces. And that's how we can reverse out of a lot of these things that end up getting created in the body.
When I was first diagnosed with fibromyalgia, first starting to work on getting better, that was sort of the concept that I held on to was, okay, there's a lot of stuff going wrong. So let's just sort of pick it apart, right? Let's make sure my thyroid is working the way that it's supposed to, my adrenals, my sleep, all these little bits, because if all the parts are working, the whole will work better.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I've heard you say that you are a doctor of turmeric. How did that happen?
So I grew up in Houston, Texas, to an immigrant family, and I grew up living in two worlds. I grew up in one world where in the US, when I got sick, you'd go to pediatrician, they'd give you a script for antibiotics, you'd fill it, take it. Back then it tasted good, tasted like bubble gum. I used to love my amoxicillin, just taking sips of it. So I would took antibiotics chronically through high school, probably way more than I should have. By high school, I was taking Augmentin monthly because I'd get these sinus infections, and no one thought, oh, wow, that's a lot of antibiotics for one thin little Indian girl to be taking. And then when I'd go to India, through all those years, when I'd get sick, my grandma would be like, "Oh, your stomach's off. Let me make you some hinkapani, this tea she used to make." Or, "Oh, you're getting sick. Let me just give you some turmeric for that." Or, "Oh, you're unwell. I'm going to add extra ginger to the food." So it was always these two worlds, one where it's like, here's a script, and one where it was, here's some spices. And I always thought, who's right? I don't even understand because her way works, as weird as it tastes sometimes, but their way works. And I didn't really see any punishments to it either until later on when I realized how many gut issues and health issues I had. So by the time I hit college, I got so sick one time. And when I went back to my college school, they said, we can't give you any more antibiotics for your flu that you have. You've already destroyed your gut. And it was the first time I heard this message of, you did something to your body, you damaged your body, and now we can't help you. And I was so shocked by it. I kind of took a step back and said, well, how did we let people explode my gut? You're telling the antibiotics do that? I quickly realized and learned and looked at my parents and said, you know what? We're in the land of yoga and Ayurveda. Every time we go to India every year, can we go explore that? Because apparently this system of just prescriptions isn't working for my body. And so I went on a quest through India. I studied it. I went to the detox centers. I sat at the guru's feet. My parents were burnt out, successful entrepreneurs. So I had this perfect window to drag them through India and get healed myself, heal them, and studied science. And many fortuitous, lucky things happened where people would just give me schooling and gift me with a lot of things. Once I realized that Ayurveda can help you reverse pretty much any chronic disease by enabling you to heal thyself, I thought, this is it. I need to learn this. How come no one else is applying this? How come back home, everyone I know is still on that old plan? The ancient plan was actually the better plan. And so that's when I started teaching Ayurveda, studying it. It led me to doing my master's in Ayurvedic sciences. And when I finished my master's, my advisor said, you should get a PhD. And I said, you have to be kidding me. That is going to take forever. I have no patience. I'm not even a scientist. Like, I studied Ayurveda. He's like, no, no, no. I know how smart you are and I know you're capable and I will help you. What do you want the topic to be? I said, well, I'm pretty obsessed with pregnancy. The fact that we kind of mismanage pregnancy the way we do and don't pause for this big life moment is crazy. And he's like, okay, what's another topic you love? Because you can't do clinical trials on pregnant women in America just because you have theories about herbs and oils on women. And I was like, okay. He's like, so what's your next favorite thing? I said, well, my next favorite thing is turmeric, because turmeric, according to the class I was just in, is the best thing since sliced bread. If it can do all that, why are we not using it more? I don't get it. Like, I want to go see, is it true? He goes, that's a good topic. So we jumped into the turmeric science together. He showed me how to sit in PubMed for years and Google Scholar and read and understand the science and start collecting that data and categorizing it. So I sat in the science of turmeric for years and thus became an evangelist of it, obsessed with it. And what most people don't realize about turmeric is it is the ultimate superfood. It's like the master gift from Mother Earth. It's anti-inflammatory, and not just anti-inflammatory, it impacts the master switches of inflammation for us. So it's going to impact NF-kappa B, TNF alpha. It impacts interleukin 6, many of the other interleukins as well. It impacts coxin locks. It impacts our CRP and so many of our inflammation metrics that we actually test for in our blood. It's antioxidant, it's antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-H. pylori, anti-parasite. It kills off everything in the gut that doesn't belong there but leaves all the good intact. It supports a healthier gut membrane and gut lining. It's very powerful for anti-aging as well. So it has a positive effect on our sirtuins, AMPK pathways, our AGEs, the advanced glycation end product, positive impact on extending our telomeres. So when we're looking at all this anti-aging stuff and we're like, I need mitochondria, curcumin causes mitogenesis. It helps with the production of new mitochondria. It has a profound impact for neurocognitive disease. So we know that it has a powerful impact for Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's because of its impact on tau tangles, amyloid plaques, our microglia, and neuroinflammation. I was just on an Alzheimer's summit, so that science is real fresh for me. But to me, it's so fascinating that curcumin can do so much. So once I finished my PhD, anytime anyone walked up to me and they're like, my knee hurts, I say, take turmeric for that. Or my throat hurts, you can take turmeric for that. And my family kind of laughed at me. I'm surrounded by an all MD family of doctors in South Florida. And they were like, that's so funny that you think turmeric can do that. And I said, are you kidding? The science is your science. It's sitting in where you search for science. It's done in clinical trials. It's double-blind placebo-controlled trials. And they're like, yeah, we're sure it's mostly animal studies. Like, no supplement can do what we need. And I said, oh, I'm going to show you. And so from there, I built a supplement company just to prove to Western medicine that curcumin can be effective as a pain solution. I just had no idea what that could mean or do, because now I've had tens of thousands of people take it for pain and inflammation and joint pain and different issues. And they can walk again, they can move again, they have this freedom again. So it's been very gratifying. And now, 10 years later, I've had the same formulas for 10 years. My dream is bigger trials and more research on the curcumin and the way that Ayurvedic herbs formulated with curcumin in the right synergistic blend, which is what I built with the right symphony of herbs, what that means, even in comparison to curcumin itself.
Right, right. That is quite a list of things. Now, I'm going to back you up just a minute, just in case people are not familiar with turmeric at all. So we've talked about turmeric and you've also talked about curcumin. So let's talk about what those two are and how they fit together and why it matters.
Sure. So turmeric is a sister plant to ginger. So everyone knows ginger, and just looking like ginger is turmeric. It's a little more orange on the inside, usually. When it comes to turmeric in ancient India, we never really used raw turmeric. Turmeric as a plant was always taken and dried into a spice. So you may see turmeric at the grocery store. A lot of people are using it in their dishes. There's turmeric shots available nowadays. People are buying fresh shots of it with ginger mixed in. The thing is, we know black pepper increases the absorption of turmeric by 2,000%. And we know that healthy fat increases the absorption of turmeric and helps it cross the blood-brain barrier. And so when I built a formulation, I took 500 milligrams of curcumin. So what I forgot to say is out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3% of it is the curcuminoids, 3 to 5%. And that 3 to 5% of 3 curcuminoids, out of them, curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. And so when people are saying, I sprinkle turmeric on my chicken or my eggs every day, that's not enough turmeric. You're never going to get the right quantity to do what a curcumin extract can do. And so that's why when I finished the PhD, I was like, well, if we just had a curcumin extract that was potent, standardized, third-party tested, pre-bid and post-production and made in the US, maybe doctors would trust it. And so that's been the cool thing is orthopedics and rheumatology is really open, especially since pandemic, because all the patients are coming in saying, hey, I need natural solutions too. You can't just give me the solutions you're giving me. What do you think of this? And so they've become much more open, which is great.
I'm going to take you back to telling us about your formula. So curcumin, and you added black pepper.
Yes. So I have two formulas. So one is turmeric gold, and turmeric gold is 500 milligrams curcumin at a 95% standardization. But the way I source that curcumin, it actually lands above 97%. It's always almost 98% grade potency. So when we extract curcumin, there's many ways to do it out there. That's the tough thing when it comes to supplements. When you go to buy a supplement at the grocery store, it'll say curcuma longa, 1500 milligrams. Curcuma longa is the plant name. That's not curcumin. That's just the plant name. So that's 1,500 milligrams of turmeric powder. It's wasting your time. Half the supplements forget black pepper or a healthy fat. It's quite funny to watch the games. So be careful. If a lot of people over 10 years have said to my face, they're like, I take turmeric, but I don't feel anything. I'm like, no worries. Try mine once, just once. And they'll say, oh God, I can't leave you now because yours actually makes a difference. I'm like, okay, well, I am someone who always needed an immune system. When I'm buying vitamin D at the store, I need it to do what I am paying for. Otherwise, I'm in really big trouble because I'm leaning on those supplements for my help. And so when I built Fusionary, that was my intention was you can lean on it to do what it's saying because that's how it's designed. That's how it's formulated. So turmeric gold is the classic formula. I followed the science that was published because I was worried. Orthopedics and the doctors would say, where's the science on the formula? So that's a very classic 500 milligrams curcumin, 4 milligrams black pepper extract, with turmeric added back in for the synergistic effect of whole plant with extract. Because you have to be careful. You have to honor Mother Earth when you're pulling plant medicine and giving it to someone as plant medicine. So that curcumin extraction is in proportion to Mother Earth as well. That's another little detail that helps with its absorption and what it does. And then I had a theory, what if you gave someone the ancient wisdom? What if you took curcumin, fine, because we know it does the job, but you added boswellia, dried ginger, amla, black pepper, all in the correct proportions? What impact would that have? So that formula I called inflammation relief. And that is what you take when you know you're inflamed. So anyone who's dealing with any chronic inflammation issue can take inflammation relief. And then if they need more support, they add on turmeric gold. And that's been really cool to see because inflammation relief does the job. It's a synergy of herbs. It's built in proportion to go where it needs to go, help the body where it needs to help, and then even remove the negative effects of putting such strong herbs in the body in the first place, which to me is so artful. That's Mother Nature, but in a pill. So
Right,
those are the two
right.
main formulas. And then after that, I designed some really cool sleep solutions because if we don't sleep, we're not going to reduce our inflammation. And I got worried that I was only helping people during the day. But if I couldn't get them to sleep, they'd always stay inflamed and reliant on the turmeric. And then I built functional teas to show that you can build a loose tea to be as effective as a supplement.
That's cool. That's cool. I get a lot of people asking about turmeric The thing that most people know is that it is anti-inflammatory, right? But most people are also just like taking turmeric, like the bottle just says turmeric. It's not the curcumin. And so that's one of the things that I'm always teaching my students is that yes, but there's more to the story here.
There's a huge difference. There's a difference between where you source your curcumin. I only source mine out of India. I don't source it out of countries where I just don't have control over quality. Pre, mid, and post testing on microbes, ID testing, heavy metal testing is another safety check that only supplement companies, usually in the functional medicine space, do because our functional medicine doctors demand it of us and it's expected to function at that level if you're building a doctor level supplement. But what we're buying off Amazon and from Costco, it's not the same. You're getting what you pay for, unfortunately, in supplements. So it's just important to make sure that if it's one of the ones you're going to rely on, that you're buying it from a company of quality.
Mm-hmm. And that would actually be a good thing to touch on a little bit here. You know, people are always asking me, you know, how do I know what a good company is? And you briefly mentioned like third party testing, testing for mold, you know, that it actually has in it what it's supposed to have in it. And not all supplement companies do that. In fact, most don't because it's not regulated the same way that medicine is. So let's talk a little bit about that kind of testing. And this, I mean, obviously, you're going to be talking about your supplement company, but this applies to like any supplement company. These are the things you want to be looking for.
Absolutely. And going back to my health history again, when I buy a supplement, I need to know that you are doing the job. I'm still always, unfortunately, a leaky gut, borderline autoimmune patient. I cause it somehow in myself every other year. I'm in one of those moments where it's like, all right, the gut test shows you've got a lot of work to do. And if you don't, I know what that can lead to in the future. And so I take it very seriously. So when I take vitamin D, probiotics, each thing that I am taking in my drawer be complex, methylated. I need it to be exactly what I am asking for, no more, no less. I don't have room to negotiate on it. So I personally do not ever go to a big box retailer for my supplements. I rarely go to the health food store for my supplements. I would never buy my supplements off Amazon unless I knew it was the company. And even then, there's so much adulteration right now with supplements off Amazon. I know companies where they put their product on Amazon, within a few weeks there was a copy and copies are shipping with junk. And my friend who owns a supplement company, Robert, he was like, yeah, I ordered it and I didn't know what those pills were inside. I have no idea what they're selling. They just copied my label, which is insane.
Yeah, I actually got a bottle like that a while back and took pictures of like the two together. I'll see if I can put them on today's show notes page if anybody is curious. So it's fibromyalgiapodcast.com/160. But it was a supplement that I had bought often and I couldn't get it anywhere. I just thought, okay, I'll just get it on Amazon. But when it came, like the label was a little bit not quite right and things like the circle was oval. And when I opened it up, like, this is not the right color for this supplement to be. Like, there was just so many things where I was like, wow. It was the first time I'd ever actually seen one that I knew was fake, right?
Right. So imagine all of us who didn't know it was fake.
Right.
We'd just be in trouble.
What are you even getting?
You have no idea. So that's the thing. I remember it was over a decade ago. It was the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times published an article that said that they went in as investigative journalists and picked up the supplements off the store at, like, I don't want a bad name, Target or Walmart, but a big box retailer. I shop at all of them for my regular life stuff. And 75% of what was on the shelf did not have the active ingredient at the level stated, or it didn't have the active ingredient. And that to me enraged me. I was like, hold up. When I, Shivani Gupta, take 10,000 IUs of vitamin D pre-flight for a week and I'm trying to hold my immune system together with glue, you are lying to me and I paid you to lie? That was unacceptable to me. Like, there's few things that get me really on my soapbox, but that one, I rely on supplements for my children and myself. Then, when I learned about the functional medicine space, integrative medicine, all these doctors who are in this world of, we know that everyone needs micronutrients and real support, there's a whole class of supplements that are built for doctors. They can't play games. I, as a supplement company who works with doctors, it's funny, if you hang out with those doctors, they know the minute that a supplement company changes something, all of a sudden they go, the product isn't working for my patients. Now I'm ready to work with you. That company changed something. I was loyal to them, but it stopped working. And they see that clearly because patient is making an investment in these supplements. Patient's going to you for help. If you're giving them garbage that doesn't work, that's not going to work for your whole plan to execute with that patient. So that's kind of the world that I love living in is let's create solutions that doctors can lean on to deliver a result.
Right, because really we're talking about using these things as medicine. When we talk about a medication, like whether your doctor is prescribing something or you're buying Advil off the shelf, you are expecting a certain amount of something and to be able to get a certain kind of result with it. And so if we are now going to use turmeric or whatever else to replace that Advil, then we need those same assurances, right? We need that same information.
And there's no regulation that says anyone has to do that. It's a self regulated industry. So, what's good is you have a class of supplements that are so competitive with each other now that we're driving up the standards together. So, it's a good thing, actually, because everyone in my space who's way bigger than me, that's how they function. And I was like, okay, well, if that's the gold standard of best, then we're going to meet best. And then if they find a way to improve that, I'll improve with them. For now, we're meeting the best standard that we can, which is I control my source. I've worked with the same source for 10 years. I've flown to India and met with him multiple times. Staying loyal to the source keeps a consistent base to what you create. In the United States, it's third party tested. Recently, we had a batch of regular turmeric powder coming in fail testing. They were like, what? And we were all like, what? That's the first time that happened. But that's why that checks and balances exists. What if I had put it in a pill? So there's so much new, I mean, I wouldn't even call it new. This has existed. There's so much great opportunity to be safe and high quality and potent now. And so it's cool that we can deliver those kinds of results. We're not the same as pharma. Supplements cannot cure, treat, or prevent a disease. There's a lot of rules around what supplements can say. And so I always educate as, the PhD on turmeric, and I say, look, turmeric can do a lot. And your Western medicine doctor has a whole different kind of toolkit, and that toolkit's really effective too. And so what I love doing is playing in both toolkits. Where can I use my natural stuff? And if I have to go into that bigger, heavier toolkit, I'll use it. But if I can back out of it pretty fast and use the natural, that's where I prefer, and that's what my body prefers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fibromyalgia, we tend to be a little bit more sensitive anyway. And some people are extra sensitive, if they're dealing with MCAS or something like that. But we often need different solutions than the standard, here's a prescription, here you go. A lot of my clients are like, I can't take those things.
I can't. I have adverse reactions. I've fainted from opioids post surgery. I'm a lightweight, so I have to manage myself like a real, real lightweight. I always tell everyone I cut everything in quarters and then I start from that dose because when I don't, I run into big problems.
That's right. That's right. Now, one of the things that you had mentioned to me when we were chatting before was that there are certain protocols for turmeric. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think most of us are like, oh, okay, I'm going to go out, I'm going to buy a bottle, and then I'm just going to follow what it says on the bottle, right?
Yeah, I mean, turmeric is so potent. I always tell everyone if you're going to take my formula, start with one a day with food. Do it at lunch. It's such a strong formula. If you're not used to eating spices at that level, it can hit the gut and you might have a little bit of disruption. So I always say start with one. After a few days, increase to 2 pills a day with food. After a few days after that, you can take them anytime you want as 2 pills a day. Now, certain people need more support if they need to. We know that it's safe to take up to 8 grams a day of curcumin. That would be 16 of my pills. No one would do that. But if you needed a third pill at night because you're going to bed and you're having so much joint pain in the night and you need that support, you can do that. So I like to talk to people and just understand where are you at? How are you feeling? I still, for this moment, answer the 800 number of my company just so I can answer those phone calls in the right way because I know the product the best. I'm sure in the next few years, someone will take that number out of my hands. But for now, I enjoy answering those questions. So I would start just increasing that way. And then a lot of people start with inflammation relief. They know they're inflamed. And then I talk to them and say, you know what, I just need a little more support. And they add on turmeric gold as the second solution alongside the first.
Awesome. Is there any difference for like when to take it, like time of day or anything like that?
I prefer everyone takes them 8 hours apart. Curcumin has a pretty fast uptake into the body, and then its effect is pretty much absorbed and finished. I find that when people take curcumin, it goes after the big problems first. It might be like back pain, hip pain, knee pain. Then it goes after medium-sized problems like allergies and different other things. And then it goes after really fine things like gingivitis. People say my gingivitis is gone, or, it affected migraines or heavy periods. It's kind of obscure sometimes the ways the body will use it because you never know how inflammation is affecting you specifically. And so it just takes a little time. It can take a few weeks for all of that to start to happen. But truly, you can take it at your first meal of the day. A lot of us are intermittent fasters. So, depending on how sensitive your stomach is, you might not want to take it at 7 a.m. if your first meal is noon. Just depends on you. I typically don't eat till 10:30, 11, so I'll just take it then. And then I'll take it at 3:30 because that was a big gap. And then if I forget, I'll just make sure I take it at night around dinner. So when it comes to curcumin, I don't know if I mentioned this, you take it with black pepper or a healthy fat. So that's why it's good to tie it to your meal time. So you're getting that healthy fat with the curcumin.
Right, right. And then is there anyone who shouldn't take it or anything that it shouldn't be combined with?
So curcumin and turmeric are vasodilators. Because it's a vasodilator, it increases that blood flow in the body. It can thin the blood. If you're on a blood thinner, do not take a curcumin supplement. It is contraindicated. It's the only known contraindication at this time. We don't have science published where we're like, don't take turmeric with these 10 things. That doesn't exist yet. So we typically say it as keep an eye. If you have kidney issues, keep an eye. If you have kidney stones, really, keep an eye. If you have low iron, keep an eye when you take your turmeric as well. Make sure you're taking an iron supplement then as well because of that blood thinning effect. But other than that, we don't have anything else negative specifically published in the science.
Okay. And I would imagine too that if there was a reason that someone shouldn't take a blood thinner, that maybe it would be worth an extra conversation with your doctor before starting turmeric since it has a similar effect.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Supplementation is still something, unfortunately, doctors are not that comfortable with. I wish they were, but I mean, I understand they have enough that they have to manage. So when it comes to supplementation, yes, talk to your doctor and just keep an eye. Keep an eye on your numbers.
Mm-hmm. And I always tell my clients too that sometimes your pharmacist is actually a better person to talk to if you're worried about interactions, because that's all they have studied is medication. And so they actually know that often better than your doctor does.
They have great apps for that too, actually, that they'll go drug by drug. I've seen doctors do that. They'll pull out this app and they'll say, okay, well, actually, you can't take this because you're taking this. Pharmacists know that best.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Anything else that we should know, like someone who is thinking about trying this for their fibromyalgia? And by the way, before you answer that real quick, for everyone listening, there have been a lot of things that Dr. Shivani has talked about that absolutely are fibromyalgia, right? Like we have brain inflammation, we have mitochondrial dysfunction, like a lot of the things that she's talking about turmeric helping with are the problems that we have. So this absolutely is something that is worth trying. And when I was working on my own health, curcumin supplement was one of the things that I took 3 times a day, every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going through a mold detox right now. And so I'm being very loyal with curcumin because curcumin is antifungal. It'll kick off and kill out whatever needs to be kicked out, but leave in the good. To me, it's fascinating when we reduce inflammation, when we get rid of oxidation, we kill off zombie cells, and we allow cell death of whatever's meant to go. We're really just saying we're clearing the deck. And our body sometimes at different points in our lives forgets how to do that or becomes really slow at doing that for various reasons. At this moment in my life, I'm 45, I'm a mother, I have a supplement company, and I get to teach Ayurveda as a speaker and an author and all those things. So it definitely feels like over the last 10 years, I've sped life up. And that speeding up has a physical toll. There's just no question that we go through moments in our lives. Now, when you take that and you add on perimenopause, which is the roller coaster of our hormones, you add on 5, 10 years from now, I'm Indian, so I expect in the next 7 years, I'll hit menopause, tanking of estrogen, which has a catastrophic effect on our health that is finally being talked about as, hey, let's bring this back up and support ourselves. We're talking about such wear and tear on the bodies nowadays that I think it's so important to remember we need to prop ourselves up in all ways. We need to improve gut health as women. We need to really honor our sleep. We need to somehow do stress management, which I find ridiculous to even say because we sign up for so much, but we need to find the way I think of it now is decompression points. If you're going to put so much pressure on the system, where will you decompress? And so I teach something called tea time is me time. I take tea time breaks throughout the day, 5 times a day. And those are my moments of quiet where I just tune into my intuition and take a moment. And so for me, I've been so fortunate that the turmeric has worked so well and people have taken it, but people started using my pill for the problem and forgot that all of Ayurveda is there to help reverse out of these issues. And so that's why the conversation is yes, turmeric is phenomenal. Let's use the tool. I made sleep tea and sleep gummies to really improve sleep quality. Sleep tea relaxes mind and digestive system for a better night's sleep, and sleep gummies are there to give you a perfect night's sleep. Or if you wake up in the middle of the night, you can take one gummy to get that next 2 to 3 hours of sleep. Sometimes I use it just for that. Then I made a bunch of other cool teas. So using the tools is great because it just gets the problems solved faster, the symptoms out of the way, because I want everyone's symptoms out of the way, because then you have the energy, then you have the space, then you're rested enough to have the foundation to hear someone like me say, let's cut some inflammatory foods. Let's move our bodies a little more. Let's honor self-care. But if I say all that first while you're in pain, you're gonna say, "Hey, girl, you can just no, I'm not listening. I'm not listening." You'll probably
Exactly.
cuss me out and say, "I'm not listening to you," which I understand. At busy points in my life, I don't want to hear any of that. I really don't. Don't tell me to meditate. There's no time at this moment. But I find if we can bring that noise down and that inflammation down, all of a sudden, then we can have really good conversations around self-improvement, self-help. But until then, I think it's too much to ask.
Absolutely.
We as women need to keep looking for advocating ourselves, being sovereign in our health, finding those tools that work for us, finding those founders who are creating high quality tools that work for us, because we need the help and the support. I'm always on that path. I have a podcast too, and I'm always like, how does it work? What's the best thing that you made? Usually, as founders, we have only 1 or 2 things that we're like beyond phenomenal at. And we know that. It's what we started with. My PhD is turmeric, so I know where I win the most. And that's where we need to lean into each company and say, okay, answer all my questions and make me feel comfortable. And then I'm going to try what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And we need as many tools as we can get. All the tools in all the toolboxes, whether it's prescription medication or it's self-care or it's a supplement that you take or whatever it is, like you need all kinds of tools because life is going to shift on you and you'll need different things at different times. And yeah.
Yeah. And we need health coaches. I have a health coach for myself. I called her recently. I said, wow, all my results came back. I got to do the work again. I got to start over. I'm really shocked that I have to start over. But you know what? I had mold in my house and it caused leaky gut. Okay. That's a life event. In the past, it's been grief. Someone passed, destroyed my gut. There's life moments that will happen. It will take a toll. Hopefully, we catch it soon enough. We don't always catch it. In my case, my kid has a gut issue. So I ordered a stool test on him. And once I saw it, I was like, oh, we all need stool tests. Then I discovered my issue. And I was like, okay, I need a coach to help guide me because it's actually a really big project sometimes to walk yourself out of a health issue. And that's where I find coaching is so supportive because we're asking for big changes. And so as soon as you get that help, you're like, okay, I'm leaning on you to hold me accountable to do the work now to get to that goal.
Absolutely. Preaching to the choir. But, it's so true. And especially if you have something like fibromyalgia, where you've got brain fog and you're in pain and you don't have a lot of energy, you need somebody often to sort of give you the shortcuts, right? So simplify things. No, try this. This is what's most likely to work instead of like, oh my God, Googling it and then having 20,000 things to try to sift through.
It's true. It can get really overwhelming. Like for me, I am practicing in the functional medicine, integrative medicine, longevity, and biohacking space. So when I go to a conference, I am sold 2 million ways to improve my health. So when I called my coach, I was like, there's like 300 great companies, and I bet 5 of them have great mold solutions, and I just don't know which one to pick. I don't know what to do. And she's like, Shivani, this is called overeducated and overanalyzed. Let's simplify. We're just
That's
going to
right.
heal leaky gut, and then we're going to talk about the rest. And with leaky gut, I just need you to eat a new vegetable a day. And I was like, what? I already drew out a circadian rhythm, Goshic diet. And she goes, I know what you probably did. Let's simplify this. It's real easy. Water fast, leaky gut protocol. So that's where I find coaching is the best. It's going to really simplify it down to nuts and bolts for you, even though the thought process behind it is all that knowledge and wisdom coming forward,
That's right.
but it's giving you the simple breadcrumbs to get to that end goal.
And often saving us from ourselves, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, it has been such a pleasure having you on the podcast. Let's tell people how they can find you. Obviously, we'll have all of this in today's show notes. So if you just want to go to fibromyalgiapodcast.com/160, you will find everything we're about to list out for you. But tell us how people can find you.
Yes. So my website is my name, ShivaniGupta.com, ShivanIGupta. And I'm at Dr. Gupta on Instagram and all the social channels. My turmeric can be found on fusionaryformulas.com. It's FUSIONARY. And I made a special code for you. Fibro Coach will give your listeners 15% off on their first order.
Thank you so much for that. That is so generous. And, it's so hard when there are all these things to try, right? And we so often try things that don't work. That is just so generous of you to give us a little extra there.
For
Thank you.
sure. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I love sharing about Ayurveda, turmeric, and all the ways we can really support our health from the ground up and just start one healthy habit at a time.
That's right. And if people are looking for your podcast, if they want to hear more from you,
it's the Fusionary Health Podcast.
Awesome. And again, we will link to all of those things in today's show notes, fibromyalgiapodcast.com/160. Thank you again so much, Dr. Shivani. And everybody stay tuned. I have a little bit more information for you since this is Fibromyalgia Awareness Month. I've got a few extra things I want to share with you, so stay tuned. And that's a wrap on my conversation with Dr. Shivani Gupta. If you are interested in using that discount code she so generously gave us, it is Fibro Coach, all one word. You can find the code and a link to her company, along with how to connect with her online at fibromyalgiapodcast.com/160. That's today's show notes page. Now, I have to tell you, when it comes to recommending turmeric or curcumin for fibromyalgia and pain, there has really only ever been one brand that I recommended until now. Until I met Dr. Shivani and discovered fusionary formulas. So I am super excited to have another option now to share with my students and clients, and of course, with you. I only ever share things on this podcast that I have tried and that I trust, or that my clients rave about and I can see them getting good results with. And fusionary formulas, their turmeric gold, is one of those things. So if you give it a try, I would love to hear how it goes for you. I also want to mention that Dr. Shivani has invited me to an Instagram Live on Tuesday, May 13th, which is actually the week before this episode comes out, which means as you're listening to this, it will have already happened. But if you follow her on Instagram, you can absolutely go back and see that interview. That was for Tuesday, May 13th. Now, Fibromyalgia Awareness Month, that's this month, all month long in May. And this episode is dropping on May 20th, which means we are nearing the end of Fibromyalgia Awareness Month. And it also means this is the last few days of the special goodies that we have for you this month. The special offer of a $12 consultation with one of my students or coaches. I know it's a weird amount, but we chose that because May 12th is the official Fibromyalgia Awareness Day. We've made all of our consultations $12 to meet with one of my students or coaches. This really is a great way to see how a certified fibromyalgia coach can help you feel better faster. Remember when Dr. Shivani told us about how much she valued working with a coach, despite being a doctor and despite knowing all of her stuff, she still found her coach's support invaluable. We all need that kind of support. So if you are looking for that in your life, or if you just want somebody to help you cut through the noise, someone to show you the shortcuts to feeling better, then think about scheduling that consultation. They are $12 for the rest of May, and our regular consultation rates will kick back in June 1st, so now is the time to schedule. As long as you click that Schedule Now button during May, even if you don't actually meet with the coach until June, you'll still get that $12 special. So just head over to findafibrocoach.com or check today's show notes for the link. You'll find all of our notes for today at fibromyalgiapodcast.com/160. Now, remember, we all have fibromyalgia. We have all found ways to feel better. Many of my coaches also have their fibromyalgia in remission, like I do. And I promise you, we have been where you are. We get it. There is nothing you could say that would shock or surprise us. So we get it. We can help. Now, let me give a big shout out to this week's listener. This comes from Erica in California, and she sent us a message saying, I have been enjoying the podcast for the past 3 years. It's informative and inspiring. I like the personal experiences and hearing how others are managing. Thank you for the time and effort you put into the podcast. Thank you so much, Erica. Your kind words really do make all that hard work worth it. Because let's face it, if you weren't getting any value from this podcast, there would be no point in me doing it. You are the reason this exists. So if you are enjoying the podcast, please go out and give it a rating and give it a review. Wherever you're listening right now, your reviews really do help other people find us and know which podcasts they should be listening to. When they go out and they search for a fibromyalgia podcast, why should they pick this one instead of one of the other ones? So your reviews and your ratings can really help with that. Remember how you felt when you were lost and when you were searching? There are others out there right now feeling the exact same way. So let's help them find some answers. Share this podcast, give it a review, give it a rating. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. I cannot wait to catch up with you next time, and I will see you back here then. And that wraps up another episode of the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stacklehouse. For daily doses of hope, inspiration, and practical advice, come hang out with me on Facebook. Visit facebook.com/fibrocoach to find my personal coaching page and connect with me directly. To find the show notes, additional resources, or to schedule a consultation with me or one of my coaches, visit fibromyalgiapodcast.com.